Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome back to the Expo in Star Citizen. We are on day 2, and we are with the RSI, Robert Space Industries, yes. So, like in the first episode, which I'll link down below in the description, we will be having a quick look around these various ships, and I will give you a brief overview as to what they are, in my limited knowledge, but hopefully entertaining, and also my opinions on the matter. So, RSI, obviously, Robert Space Industries. A quick, very basic, very generalizing overview is RSI is a ship manufacturer which focuses on, I would argue, the mid-range of ships. They also are, in terms of, like, quality, and they're not snazzy like Origin, but they are, like, they're slightly more up-tiered than, say, Jaeger Interplanetary. They also are responsible for a variety of ground vehicles, some of which I've driven, some of which I like. But then one of the things they also are capable of is, of course, the manufacture of the Auroras. Now, if you're not entirely sure what the Aurora is, or you've never played Star Citizen, the Aurora is a finger quote starter ship. Now, I finger quote this because, well, basically, the Aurora is a good ship, don't get me wrong. There are multiple types of Auroras, just like how there were a variety of types of Hornets from Aegis. The only thing is, it's mainly down to like what kind of weapons you have, maybe what certain components are available. But all of the Auroras are very much basic and simple. They're small, they have an advantage, which is pretty, they do have an advantage. Let me just open the ladder just so we can actually... There you go, slightly snazzier ladder on this one, apparently, on the ES. And I'm falling. God damn it, it can't enter the thing. There we go. So, the Aurora is a fairly... You've been in one Aurora, you've kind of been in them all. It's a simple ship, single pilot, incredible view. Like, if I can enter the pilot seat, might as well get a chance. It does, unfortunately, have this problem where it doesn't have that ability for you just to spin around and do whatever. But the view you get from an Aurora, while you do get lots of panels that kind of slightly block your vision, you do get, and I will give this ship credit where it's due, incredible abilities for first-person landing. Most ships, when it comes to landing, at least for your first few times, you will have to guess how to land. Or you'll have to press F4 and look down. Whereas with the Aurora, it's a very easy, it's easier to be able to look at where you're going to land. It's also pretty good for keeping that immersion level up, which is nice. And in terms of flying it, I mean, having flown it for a fairly long time, this was in fact my go-to starter ship. In fact, little history when it comes to myself in this game. My very good friend, Mr. White, bought this for me as a way of incentivizing me to try this game out, because I was talking to him one time. I was like, "Oh, this game looks good, but I just can't afford, to buy even the basic ship." And so he was like, "Yeah, well, now you've got a present." But no, the Aurora is a good ship. Whether I would say it's a good starter ship, debatable. But if you really want to get into Star Citizen, but you can't really, you kind of want to get the cheaper vessel to see what it's like. And don't forget, guys, with Persistence on the way, this could be in fact the better starter ship, because once you start earning in-game credits, you can buy probably some of the other ships, which will make your life a lot easier. But yes, apart from that, you've got 2 other versions of the Aurora. So you've got the Aurora MR, the Aurora LN, the LX, the ES, and the CL. Pretty much the same ship, but just different modules. The MR... Hang on, let me just get the thing. It's decided to be a bit of a pain. LN has the missile capacity, which is kind of scary. I'll be honest with you, if I was to re-own ever to own an Aurora ever again, maybe this version, just because it has that. Though that said, the ES does have some good things. Though memory serves correctly, was it the ES or was it the LN or LX? It's possible that, or it was possibly the CL. Basically, the ballistic cannon version was the one I owned. So going on to the next area in this thing, we have the RSI Ursa rover. Now, the Ursa rover, fairly basic ground transportation vehicle. There are multiple types of ground transportation vehicle. Having used this in a bunch of clan ops, I can happily say it does its job. I can't really say I'm a huge fan of this thing, but it for what it does, it's pretty good. Two seats for the driver and the co-pilot. or co-pilot, driver thingy, my job. I mean, there's a lot of functionality in Star Citizen that isn't quite there yet. For example, weapon racks. We don't have weapon racks. So, unfortunately, we can't really fully enjoy the absolute benefits of this. Though, truth be told, the best version of this vehicle as it stands right now is probably one with the turreted weapon. Because, obviously, having a turreted version is... hang on. Let me just back off so I can close the door, because it was CD playing evil tricks on me. Oh, there it is, right there. Oh, cool. So yes, this version, there are multiple versions of this particular vehicle. As mentioned, there is one with a turret. That one. And it's actually quite good for that sort of thing. But apart from that, I can't really say I'm overly fussed at that particular one. In my opinion, it's kind of like, eh. You know, I'm meh about it. It looks nice, and it has its practicality, but eh. Anyway, let us move on to the main area. So, obviously, RSI's main star attraction is what we'll focus on here, is the Constellations. Now, anyone who's anyone, or at least anyone who's seen Star Citizen from ages past, or when it was first being announced, this was probably the largest ship you ever saw in Star Citizen, and this was probably the thing that most people had wet dreams about. The Constellations are basically your baby frigates. I would also love to... I would kind of want to be a bit cocky and say these are the blockade runners. Well, they could be the blockade runners, but overall, these are the ships that... Well, these were the ships that were probably their initial pride and joy of some of the guys who could actually fully explore their vessels. You had the multiple ways of getting in. You had the cargo bay. You've got the mini lift, which is, in my opinion, a little dodgy. You could easily fuck yourself or get injure others. This one is the Andromeda. So this is the pirate version. So you can, in fact, encounter and destroy these things in the verse at the moment, if you are unlucky enough to encounter one of these as a Ninetales. But the Constellation Andromeda, I mean, we will jump into this thing just because it's a constellation, and also I don't think I've ever actually shown you guys. Remember where the button was for this thing? There was like a display or something, or is it better just to you go up on another one? Really, we've got that music. Sorry, I just heard the fucking 2001 Space Odyssey. Right, let's see if we can. There we go. We'll just call this elevator. Safer. Go. Fancy. The music timing is lovely. So, with most bog standard constellations, hang on, turret going down to the bottom and the top. Now let's get into the pilot seat. You've got you have three pilots or seats in the front cockpit, two of which are co-pilot / gunners. Though I think it's more just co-pilot. Right, let's turn the power on at least. There we go. And look at the difference now. Oh, he's fancy. Again, this is the reason, I have to admit, this is one of the reasons why I like RSI a little bit, or on the same level as Drake Interplanetary. I have a thing. I don't know if you guys have it as well. Aesthetically, I fucking love this. These exposed wiring and like grating, the somewhat shit-looking lighting that requires me to do this in order to see that this is avionics. The dark-natured but utilitarian style design of these ships. Oh, makes me cream myself every time. So as mentioned, there are two turret manned English language. If I knew that, that would be even better. Two manned turrets, one on top and one below, firing both the same types of weapons. So the Andromeda is the more bog standard edition of the Constellation. If memory serves correctly, you can get a table somewhere. Aha! There we go. Right. Comes with a standard. Oh, okay. I just want to have the table up, because you can in fact get this table up. I have seen this table come up, but for some reason. Right. Okay. Let's see if I can get the table up. If not, we'll just give up. But if I'm not, no. Okay, it's not gonna let me have it. Right. Never mind then. So, and as always, very, very important factor in all spaceships. You cannot have a spaceship without this. It has a toilet. it, well, had a toilet. Or is this just a dedicated shower? Wait, is this ship fancy? It has a separate toilet and shower? Jesus Christ. I didn't realize. Jesus. No, I think there was actually a budget cuts. There is no toilet. Well, shit. Variety of lockers for you to store your items. Obviously, a weapon rack. This particular version of the Constellation is a little bit more militarily focused. So, as you can see, there is not as much civilian comfortness towards it. Lots of missiles, and my character is so awe-inspired he almost fainted. So many missiles, which is nice, considering also the weapons out on the front as well. 2 side port accesses, which are mainly to do, these side port accesses are mainly to do with EVA integration, which, by the way, I can tell you now is a bitch to do, because the amount of times you think you're in, and then your foot like catches one of the sodding sides because it's a circle, and your character just goes flop and onto the floor. It's hilarious, but enjoyable. Now, one of the things that unfortunately does not work, but hopefully one day we'll see, and it will be very awesome if that's the case, is the snub fighter. Now, each constellation has access to either a P-52 Merlin or a P-72 or 92 Archimedes, depending on what version of the ship you're in. Now, this is basically a tiny little fighter thing which can detach and reattach, depending, of course, on what's going on. Unfortunately, in the moment, Star Citizen does not have the capacity to have a detach and reattaching motion for this thing. But trust me, when this thing does work, people's ship ability, the ability for the defense of this ship will be tenfold, and it'll be so freaking cool. Like, not only will this ship have its own turret defenses, its own guns that are naturally on the ship anyway, it'll also have a little snub fighter to try and defend it whilst it's trying to get out. All in all, a really awesome looking ship, and I do like this. I very much do like this. I'm not a big fan of this lift though. It kind of feels like you could clip through way too many times. But yeah, so this is where the turret would normally open up and you'd get something. So this is the Andromeda, the bog standard edition, if you will, of the Constellations. Is this the Explorer Dur? Is it the Dur? I think it is the Dur. No, the Aquila. Aquila. No, Dur is the bloody Freelancer. Sorry, my brain is failing. I'm going to come to a point in the future, maybe now, maybe never, of where I can actually speak with you about these particular vessels and have a bit of a knowledgeable aspect. And we won't go too crazy into this because obviously time and everything. The Aquila, if I'm not mistaken, is more of a scientific research ship, which does in fact come with the same problematic system of toilets. Shit, okay. God damn it! Is there no loo? Oh, by the way, guys, my knowledge on Star Citizen ships, as you probably already have noticed, is not the best. I got a good-ish knowledge, and I also love this game a lot. But feel free to correct me if I've made an absolute poofar of any of the descriptions in. There are a lot of... Right, so these are the new Mark 9 Ghost missiles. Basically what happens is they get shot out towards the enemy, and they're really great because instead of just blowing the ship up, it basically throws inadequate horror stories into them, which forces the crew to commit suicide due to boredom. Very effective missiles, were banned in the Geneva Convention, so Ghost missiles, you know. So I'm trying to remember if it was the Constellation Dur or not. The Aquila I know is like, is it even the more basic version? I know that there is an Explorer version which does have... I know that there is an Explorer... Oh, God. Hello. Random person just come in. GG. So I know that there is an Explorer version which does not have turrets, but does instead have scanners. And I'm going to have to just cave and look in the upper turret, because it looks like there are turrets in this ship, which I thought were not available. Unless they're not actually showcasing the Explorer variant. Or is this the Explorer variant? Was I correct? This will be very awesome. I have to admit, I've never seen the Explorer variant. I know that there is one, and it does look like, in fact, this is the one I was talking about. Sweet! Yeah, because this thing doesn't have a turret on the top. It is, in fact, a scanner. I was right. Hell fucking yes. Good. So yes, this is, in fact, this Explorer variant. I had a feeling this was, though, knowing Sod's Law, there's always that one version that is apparently not. But yeah, so scientific probe researcher on the top, and the gun is in fact at the bottom, which is not really that sensical, I'll be honest with you. You'd think the turret would be better on the top than the bottom, because then you could point it in the direction of the enemy, but then again you're facing forward, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's pretty much the same design layout, lacking of a bathroom, as the Andromeda, but at least, we'll get to you in a second, it, you know, that's the more Explorer variant. Not as militarily focused as everything else, but it's a fancy, it's a Constellation and other stuff. Now this you can already kind of have a sneak peek at in on Hurston. There is a ship builds yards, but we'll go into this for the sake of the video. So this is the Constellation Phoenix, and and is, in my opinion, the nastiest of looking constellations, and you'll find out why. So this is what eventually will probably be considered as the transportation one, well, the transport one. And then at the front of the ship you find pretty much the same layout, nothing especially different. This is a cool function, by the way, of all constellations. The fact that you can kind of go out and do a Halo, but like in Halo, where you can just see the guy standing above the planet going, harvest. Anyway, so same design layout as before, 3 ships, slightly better seat lining, slightly. 2 turrets. I believe both of them are in fact armed rather than the other ones, which is fine. And the toilet arrangements here, same as before, but that is because this is the cruise area. That's right, look at the seat lining, slightly snazzier. Even the table is slightly snazzier. So now, and also the beds, can't forget the beds, they are very much snazzier. Horrible, but here, now here is where it gets really nasty. This is the Phoenix. This is the showcase for fancy pants, fancy schmancy pants. Just close the door. And this is basically like a baby transport. It's like a baby 390, if you will. It very much it has like a nice little subdued, quiet. I really would be put off by this thing. System where you can relax in these sort of carpeted. Fairly cheap carpeting, to be honest with you, by the looks of that, but still. Fairly sort of, it's designed to be more of a luxurious transportation. Simple but refined, I'd say middle class. Going into the main lounge, as you can see, you've got a nice fancy pants skylight. Ooh, look at that, pretty. We can see into space, and it looks nice. We have a slightly levitating table, some asshole-plated cards that didn't tidy up. The chairs look very nice, probably have bum warmers. It looks all fancy. There's a fancy pants dial there that allows you to get some watered down Coca-Cola. There's the bar that sells extortionately expensive alcohol. That probably is also watered down because you're cheapskates. And the flooring is nice. I like the flooring. The alcohol for some reason phases in and out. Again, ghost alcohol. It's expensive. Some numbskull decided to leave the fucking oh, I'm gonna fire him as soon as I get the chance. Some idiot decided, hey, let's just leave a cigar on top of whatever the fuck that is, because reasons. And Sky, the most famous bottle of fuck all whiskey. Sky, the most famous bottle of watered down whiskey. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch of fancy pants decorations. There's a nice little bar you be running around, and the general vibe of this ship with its sort of sunlight roof is it's meant to be a luxurious transportation. This is where it really belongs, at the bottom of the fucking water planet. This is, by the way, telegraphing to your people, or the people who are on this ship, yeah, this is where we're going someday. Is this your flight? Anyway, so yes, this is the jacuzzi that doesn't work because, you know, water's expensive. They took the water out the jacuzzi to fill the fucking bar. And this is the Master Captain's bedroom. Maybe. Possible. Not sure. This is basically kind of risque. I mean, there is like a two-tone screening, but let's face it, you probably still can see through it if you really cram your face in. Because I could totally see. But it's cool. It's got its two-tone lighting, which is fine. Window's a bit dirty, though. Ugh. Let's put their smudge... Some kids place his bloody fingers on that. So, apparently this thing, normally, what you're supposed to do is this thing opens up or whatever. But for some reason, it doesn't want to open up, which is really depressing. You can open up these two, which only exposes the little component part. The only somewhat decent-looking functionality here. But yeah, no, it doesn't want to work. This is, as I said, this is a jacuzzi that normally is supposed to work, but it doesn't. This is cool, though. This is a little elevator into the subcomponents and also to the cargo bay. So yes, we still do have the cargo bay, but it's just it's just not around because, you know, whatever. But it allows you to sort of look around, this is where you'd be going if, for example, someone's dropped something in here. Or, you know, you want to have a somewhat Titanic-esque risque scene. But yeah, there you go. Little baby Titanic dog pot. And of course you've got the table where you can have your low-key meetings. But because you're not rich, you don't have a 390 jump, so you're not going to have... This is the budget 390 jump meeting station. Anyway, following all the way to the back of the ship, or the stern of the ship, you can see we have the snazzier version of our snub fighter, the P-72 Archimedes, if I'm not mistaken. And, textures, yum yum. So again, unfortunately unable to be utilized in that form. However, I would love to be able to see snub fighters in this game being practically useful. So overall, this is just the fancy snaz version of the Constellation. In my opinion, the ugliest version of the Constellation series, as in my opinion, snazzy is ugly. But there you go, there's my 2 cents on it. So, with all 3 of these constellations available, you could argue that these particular ships... Okay, I didn't actually want you to do that, but sure. So as I said, with all 3 of these Constellation-style ships, I mean, again, I'm not really fussed about the Constellation ships. They're cool, they're there, but I just look at them and go, huh, okay, sure, whatever. There's apparently another ship which is supposedly meant to be around here. Or I saw something in the distance. Ah! Right, there it is. Hang on, let me have a look-see, because this might be the thing that was supposedly meant to be here, or is being shown off at the moment, but it's not available for purchase yet. Or not available in-game yet. Oh, no. That's just a thing. There is a ship called the Polaris, which is apparently not available in physical form yet, finger quote, but will hopefully be there soon. Right, so, last but not least, the Mantis. Now, this was recently introduced into patch 3.7, or late 3.6, I can't remember. No, it was 3.7. No, yeah, it was 3.7. And this utilized... this is the first player-controlled interdiction aircraft. Now, basically, if you wonder what interdiction means, it basically means it has the ability to gank you out of QT and into a pretty nasty surprise. I will take this probably for a spin because you can rent these things. Here's me renting them. Now, for anyone who's worried about people using this to troll people. Yes, it could be possible, but this thing is relatively lightly armed. It's not that well defended, so unless you're traveling in a ship that is absolutely not undefended, you should be able to break free of this ship relatively quickly. And also, hang on, let me try and see, because I've never actually been in one of these before. Hell, this is actually my first time seeing one, which is a bit funny. Well, I say funny, it's actually kind of... Can I call the lift? Come on. Yes! Success. Right. So, let me just get into the seat of the pilot so I can see. This is very spacious inside, I will say. There's this one person just studying like, I'm intelligent enough to be in this place. enjoy the ride. Enjoy it. Really, it should be enjoy being a troll. You asshole. Right, so this is very wide and spacious, though. A little claustrophobic. Just like it feels like when I stand up. What? I was interdicted. All right, so we're gonna have to rely on lights and everything. Oh, that's cool. It's got its own little TV screen. I like how it's got values and the market. That's actually kind of cool. Because logic would be that you'd ambush merchants and frigates whilst they're plumly applying their trade, and then maybe you, along with a couple of other guys, would gank them. So, it has a bed, and I'm not going to lie, the bed looks lovely. It's got those lovely sort of fabric-like quilts with a nice little pillow that you could easily snuggle up to. It's kind of nice. You have also access to the different components inside the vessel. Coffee-making facilities, should you need them. However, I am, of course... Oh, wait. What? I want to see this toilet. Open this toilet. It has a toilet. And what is that? Oh no, it's one of those horrible ones from Japan. Oh, disabled access. Nice. Oh god. It's the ones that... Oh, I was going to say... We are so fucked in the future. It's going to squirt water up your rear end. I will... If there's one thing I will say that I need to, like... That needs to be an invention that we keep... Bog roll. It's amazing, and it works. Anyway. So, this... I'm not going to lie. The front's... I mean... Okay. Personal comment. The window for the cockpit is way too fucking wide. Like, way too fronty... Way too pointy. And you can't really see until the end of it. Like, I can't tell the difference. It's very good. Or it could just be that the texture isn't loading. But I can't honestly tell where the glass ends and where space begins. Unless I had like a grid or as I'm literally flying this thing around. Again, I'm going to give this ship a go after this video. But it feels... Yeah, like, I mean, I'm mostly indifferent to most of the RSI stuff. There's a couple of good RSI vehicles, but at the moment, the Mantis at this particular venue is the only one that really invigorates me, if you will. Which is a bit of a shame, but at the same time, it's all good. Weapons-wise, I have no idea what this is, but it looks like a Tau pulse rifle. Like, down to almost to the fucking scope. Damn. It looks good, though. This Koenig weapon looks absolutely... Yeah, I'm an idiot. I'm an absolute retard. I should get on the ship, look at what weapons it has, and, yes, there we go. I should... Yeah, I'm an idiot. Sorry, I'm an actual idiot. I have the opportunity to discover what weapons it is, and he doesn't do it. Sorry. Right, what? Oh, by the way, handy tip. I can hold onto... power. There we go. Items. Power just died. FL, all stop, ping. Thruster, name thruster 5. Thruster. Ship's basically, this particular ship is fucked. That's fine, it's the showcase model. I was kind of expecting it to be. Okay, well, we'll have to figure out what, well, once I get this thing into the air, we'll figure out what guns this thing has. But, still, it looks very intriguing. I'm not gonna lie. Again, it's probably one of those ships which you will take out on raids and on ganks when you want to try and block a particular exit or entrance. Now... Yeah, that should be it. Yeah. Well, so this was the RSI day. A bit of a slight, you know, not as impressive as, for example, the Aegis, but it does have the big hitters, the big sort of mainstays of RSI. If you think RSI, you think Constellation. And of course, depending on the functionality of the RSI Mantis, you will probably see a lot more of these coming out once the game goes more into a live aspect. But again, if you're worried about the interdiction, do not worry. This thing on its own cannot really threaten you. It's not designed to be able to gank and destroy. Again, depending on what ship you're flying. And of course, most people who gank probably have experience from EVE about ganking, and probably people who get ganked are people who are inexperienced or who haven't played EVE. And as such, you probably will find this being... but if you have played EVE, you'll probably know how to counter ganking fairly quickly once you get the mechanics of this game down. So, that's going to be it from me, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this little video. And hopefully, by the time this video comes out, which will either hopefully be, well, probably not today, but early tomorrow, I'll hopefully have been able to catch up with all of the other stuff, and we can begin to be accurate to the day of things. So, and as I said, I will probably be taking the Mantis out for a spin. And yeah, I hope to see you there. This is Mr. Jaeger, signing out.